Hello and welcome to another tutorial of Vue. In this chapter, I will talk to you about the use of conditions, condition variables, and the way we can manipulate in real time different sections of our web page. That's where we stopped in the last chapter. So let's see. First of all, I want to show you a bit some important definitions of each section here. Okay, at least three sections that we will use today at least. Well, the one that we already used, it's properties, yeah, are variables who are defined as properties of the object, of the component, that are going to will be defined from the original HTML call. In this case, it was right here. Okay, so as you can see, there are properties associated with the component element. Okay, in this case, intro. Now I want to show you where we can define internal variables as we can use in JavaScript, for example, very similar to JavaScript functionality. After all, we are programming in this section in the JS in JavaScript. So when we want to add our own variables to be used inside this so-called component or so-called class, okay, we define them right here in the data return, well, in this case, inside the brackets of the return call. In this case, I defined a variable called condition. And because I put 2 points false, automatically it gives it a Boolean type of that. Okay. For example, I can call it, I don't know, condition 1 of type false, comma, condition 2 of type true, and so on and so on and so on. So the last part I will explain or will talk about with you is the method section. Okay, the method section will contain all the methods that we have to use in our programs. Okay, so now I will start adding these new functionalities to our HTML section. We always have to remember that we are between the JavaScript section and HTML section. Okay, great. Last time I left these sections, these areas, or these conditions in the code. And if I try this right now, it won't work because the variable condition is not defined, but we do have condition 1 defined. Okay, the VIF, which is a parameter that corresponds to view if and view else, allows me to define that if condition 1 is true, it will show the view is awesome section. And if it's false, it will show the else section, which is oh no. Okay. Right now, condition 1 is true. So if I don't remember. Well, no, sorry. Condition 1 is false, so it's not going to show it. It's going to show oh no. But if I put here true, it automatically changes, as you can see. Because we should remember, each time I save on the Visual Code, it updates the web page in the front. Okay, the front. So let's keep it as false now. Now I'm going to add, with this system, we already found, we learned how to create 2 blocks. Okay, 2 blocks that can be conditionally controlled. In this case, it's the h1, but we can also define a div instead of h1 that contains different information. For example, let's try putting div here, and div here, and div here, and div here, because the text is not contained now by any means of any kind of style definition. It lost the font, the h1 type, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to show. It's just going to show the text inside this block. But the same way here. Let's put it like that. So now it has a much more familiar block type structure. Now I can put stuff in here, and inside here more complex stuff, not only the H1, and I will have a bigger kind of, I can, for example, add a complexity to the page, and this I will leave it to you if you want to add and start working on these capacities. Now my interest, let's put here H1, yeah, to maintain the style, the same here. Great. So now we have, again, oh no, with that style. Okay, very nice, very beautiful. What I want to add right now is another element on the screen, which is a button. And I want the button to allow me to show and hide, or to change the condition in here. To do that, I will add a button first to the HTML side, yes, and then later on I will add I will add, see here the grid, I will add the function that will execute this option. Now instead of calling it grid, I'm going to call it press me, okay? Which should have at least update. Okay, there. Press me. As you can see, not always saving on the Visual Code will affect directly the press me. So should always be careful with that. Even if it doesn't show, you should try at least sometimes to refresh just in case. Okay, great. Now instead of calling it grid, I'm going to call it press method 1. Okay, just to make it much more like visible. Okay, it's not, doesn't mean you cannot do it in some other name. It's just I'm gonna put that name. Okay, the final step to control the event of button pressing, we have to add the code, the script in the JavaScript, and it will be done inside the methods section. Okay, inside the method section, I will copy the name that I put right here, and I will define this variable, just as I defined here the condition as a false. Instead, I'm going to define this element, this word, the press method 1, as a function. Okay, as you can see, it even suggests me and an event variable, yeah, to receive once I press the function, the button here. Okay. What I'm interested in is updating the condition variable and turning it into true once I press the button. So once everything is ready, I will refresh just in case. If I press, well, it's not really doing anything. There are some options for that. Maybe I have to call render, okay? Let me first try putting an alert and see that at least this works. If it doesn't get here, it's very important to learn how to also do stuff by parts, okay? Yeah, well, at least it gets here. The reason why changing the condition doesn't really renders or change the view element is because I have to call, yes, probably some kind of, we have to call a redraw, yes, of the visual side. Okay. So the reason that my pressing the button is not working is because I forgot to put the this here. It's very important in JavaScript Vue to always put this call, to reference our own object if the variable is defined in the data section, because while if I put this, it will create a local variable, yes, that it will only be known inside this spectrum, inside this context, and that's one of the problems that I had by doing that. Now that I put this, once I press here, it changes. It dynamically changes the view side of the app here. as you can see, which is eventually the strongest of capabilities that our Vue's framework allow us to have. So if I put if another internal condition like this, condition 1 equals false, then turn it into true, else turn it into false. Okay, so if it's true, make it false. This way, each time I press the button, it changes, yes? From true to false, false to true, and visually, as you can see, it doesn't really load anything, okay? So with this, we finished the condition part of the tutorials and the use of methods with the button click, as you can see, controlling the on click on a button outside. I can already tell you that you can start combining everything here. You can look at the documentation as well, the official Vue documentation. You will see a lot of different options. And we will continue working on towards creating, for example, our login component that will connect, for example, with Firebase, which is the last part that we want, to create a complete end-to-end solution for further adding another functionalities, like, for example, store options and the PayPal capacities to start sending things to users.